She walked into that police station 3 times in 2 days, eyes swollen from crying, voice shaking, phone in hand, playing the voicemails that should have been enough to make any sane person act. "He said he's going to kill me," she whispered to the officer behind the desk. And I believe him. But nothing was done. Just another woman with a domestic complaint. Just another number in the system. 3 days later, a neighbor called 911. There was a smell coming from apartment 5B. A smell so unnatural, so thick, that it seemed to seep into the walls. When officers finally forced their way in, they found the kitchen spotless, except for the freezer. Inside, curled into a fetal position, was the body of the very woman they'd ignored. And next to her, a handwritten note with a name they weren't expecting. This is a story of how a system meant to protect her failed her in the most chilling way imaginable. Watch until the very end, because the final twist will leave you breathless. Please, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and comment where you're watching from. Every voice helps bring these stories to light. July 14th, 2022, 2:17 a.m., Detroit, Michigan. A panicked voice crackled over the line to 911. "He's watching me sleep. I locked the door, but I think he has a key. Please, I'm scared he's going to kill me." The dispatcher noted the concern, logged it under a domestic disturbance, and assigned it low priority. 3 days later, police pried open a padlocked deep freezer in the basement of a home on the east side of the city. Inside, contorted and frozen in terror, was 26-year-old Tamara Guilford. How did a woman's desperate warnings go unheard until it was too late? Tamara Guilford wasn't famous, but to those who knew her, she was unforgettable. She worked 2 jobs, morning shift at a daycare and night shifts cleaning medical offices, to support her 4-year-old daughter, Marley. Friends say she was sweet private and had recently tried to rebuild her life after breaking things off with her ex-boyfriend, Kean Harrell. Kean had a history. 2 prior girlfriends had filed restraining orders. One accused him of putting a knife to her throat. No charges ever stuck. Tamara, at first, believed she could handle him. But when she finally left him, things got terrifying fast. June 30th, Tamara texted her cousin. "He keeps driving past my house. I swear I heard something outside my window last night." On July 1st, she posted cryptic messages on Facebook. "Don't ignore red flags. Some people really are evil." Hours later, she deleted them. By July 11th, she had contacted police twice in 1 week. First call, she reported slashed tires. Second call, she claimed Kean was breaking into her house, but had fled before officers arrived. They marked both reports as non-emergent. At 1:42 a.m. on July 14th, Tamara called 911 from her bathroom. She was whispering, "I heard footsteps inside. I think he's in the house. Please come." Dispatchers tried to keep her on the line. She whispered her address. Then silence. Patrol didn't arrive until 4:11 a.m. They knocked. No answer. Seeing nothing unusual, they left. By the time her sister Deja came looking that afternoon, Tamara's door had been kicked in, and she was gone. For 2 days, police labeled Tamara voluntarily missing. Her phone pinged once near 8 Mile and Gresham, then went dead. Friends and family begged officers to take it seriously. It wasn't until Deja herself filed a report with missing persons that a detective finally reviewed the earlier 911 calls. Only then was a BOLO, be on the lookout, issued for Kean Harrell's vehicle. July 17th, 9:52 a.m. Kean's silver Dodge Charger was spotted outside an abandoned duplex, his grandmother's old house. Police forced entry. The house reeked. Mold, decay, and something else. In the basement was a chain upright freezer, secured with a padlock. Inside, beneath plastic sheeting, was Tamara. Her arms were bound with zip ties. Her mouth was gagged with a scarf. The autopsy confirmed she had been alive when placed inside. Kean was nowhere to be found. His phone was turned off. His social media wiped clean. But what stunned investigators was what else they found in the freezer. A second set of bindings. A second scarf. And in a hidden file on his laptop, recovered at the scene, videos, dated, cataloged, labeled with names. Tamara wasn't his first. One of the videos showed a woman from Ohio reported missing in 2020, sobbing in a basement. She was never found. Another clip, a woman in a red hoodie, begging for her life. This wasn't rage. This was ritual. By the time authorities tracked Kian to a rural motel 50 miles west, he had already fled again, leaving behind a burner phone and a single note. You only listened after she died. How many others screamed and got silence? Tamara's funeral drew over 400 people. Marley clutched a teddy bear the entire time. Internal review confirmed 3 separate missed opportunities by Detroit PD to intervene. 1 dispatcher was fired. 2 officers were placed on unpaid leave. But for Tamara and possibly others, it was too late. Tamara Guilford begged for help. She called 911 multiple times. She told them someone was inside her home. But when officers finally listened, 3 days too late. She was already frozen in a basement freezer, bound, gagged, and very much alive when she was locked inside. The man responsible, Kian Harrell, had vanished, but he left behind something even more disturbing than a corpse. He left a pattern. The footage recovered from Kian's encrypted laptop was the turning point. Each video bore a date and initials. July 2019, MS. October 2020, RL. April 2021, DW. And then July 2022, TG. Tomorrow was just the latest in a series of what investigators now feared were ritualized abductions. The FBI quickly got involved. Detroit PD was no longer handling a domestic violence case. This was potentially the work of a serial predator operating under the radar for years. And he was still out there. August 3rd, 2022. A woman named Julia Reyes from Fort Wayne, Indiana, called the FBI tip line. She'd seen Kian's face on the news, but she didn't know him as Kian. He said his name was Damien. We met on a dating app. He drove all the way from Michigan to see me. He said he worked in refrigeration. Real charming, quiet, but something was off. He brought her a gift, a red silk scarf. They went out for drinks. Julia said she felt dizzy halfway through the night. She never saw him again. She woke up in her apartment, disoriented. Her back door, usually locked, was slightly open. Nothing was taken except her spare keys. The FBI combed through hundreds of cold cases, missing persons reports, and dating app data. The name Damien kept popping up. Different last names, different cities, but always the same MO. A charming man who claimed to work in cold storage. A red scarf as a gift. Sudden disappearances. Mostly women with no family or limited social ties. A3 to 5-day gap between last contact and presumed death. They realized they weren't chasing a man anymore. They were chasing a phantom. August 19th, Minneapolis. A landlord filed a complaint about a unit left in terrible condition. The tenant, who had used the name Damian Cross, vanished 3 weeks prior. Inside the apartment, the FBI found a red scarf pinned to the wall and a large, industrial freezer in the closet. This one was empty, but tucked in the corner of the freezer, taped beneath the shelving, was a small plastic charm, a blue dolphin. Detectives would later confirm it matched a missing person case from Des Moines. 25-year-old Dana Walker, last seen April 2nd, 2021. DNA results confirmed the freezer had traces of her blood. This wasn't just a signature. It was a trail. The deeper they dug, the more terrifying it became. Kian or Damien or whatever alias he was using didn't kill out of impulse. He moved like a technician. He cleaned. He prepped. He recorded. And then he moved on. The red scarf wasn't random. It was a trophy. In one recovered video, he whispers to the camera, "They think they're safe with me." Cold doesn't lie. Cold preserved the truth. Among Tamara's belongings, her sister Deja discovered something chilling, an old spiral-bound journal. In the weeks before her death, Tamara had written extensively about her fear. He keeps saying I'll never be cold again. What does that mean? I caught him staring at the basement freezer. Just staring. I think he's done this before. Tamara knew. She just didn't know how far it went. September 3rd, 2022. Surveillance footage from a gas station outside Toledo, Ohio, captured a man matching Kian's description buying duct tape, zip ties, and a bag of ice. His car, a stolen black Chevy Tahoe. License plates untraceable. The footage timestamp, 3:17 a.m. Less than an hour later, across the county line, a woman named Chelsea Riddick vanished after finishing a late-night shift at Waffle House. Her purse was found in the parking lot, inside a red scarf. What began as a domestic violence case spiraled into a nationwide manhunt. Kian Harrell, known to some as Damian Cross, vanished after the body of Tamar Guilford was discovered inside a locked freezer. But Tamar wasn't the only one. FBI analysis of Kian's laptop revealed multiple victims, each stalked, each bound, each silenced, but then a reflection barely visible in the door of the freezer where Tamar had died. Another pair of eyes. Someone else was in the room. This wasn't just a predator. It was a network. Quantico, September 7th, 2022. Special Agent Lauren Bishop stares at the still frame from Tamar's final moments. In the reflection, a silhouette, holding the camera, watching. They enhanced it, grain by grain. Broad shoulders. A hoodie. But what stood out wasn't the figure. It was a tattoo. A curved shape across the forearm. Faint, but legible. F8. FBI Cyber Forensics ran a search. F8 didn't match any gang tag or military code. But when one analyst suggested it might mean fate, the team found something chilling. On a dark web forum called Cold Keepers, buried behind layers of encryption, a series of posts dated back to 2018. Each featured grainy footage of women in freezers, blurred, anonymized, traded like currency. Usernames included F8_Sentinel, Damien Cold, Preserve Her, and then one final post made just 2 days before Tamar's death. The next one knows. She heard too much. She'll be the last before we go silent. They weren't just uploading these horrors. They were collaborating on them. The FBI released a narrowed facial reconstruction from the reflection footage to regional task forces. A break came in Cincinnati. An anonymous tip claimed the image resembled a man named Derek Vale, 38, a former refrigeration contractor who'd been arrested in 2015 for unlawful confinement. Charges later dropped due to lack of evidence. He'd moved around constantly, always worked in warehouses, cold storage units, morgues. He had a fascination with cryogenics, and he had once lived in the very same Detroit duplex where Tamara had been found. When the FBI raided Derek Vale's last known residence in Toledo, they found a hidden flash drive taped on the floorboards of a detached garage. It contained one video. In it, a woman is blindfolded, her breath shallow. A distorted voice whispers, "Preservation is mercy. We don't kill them, we pause them." And then, clear as day, 2 men appear in the frame. One is Kian Harrell. The other is Derek Vale. They fist bump. Then one turns to the camera and says, "She's number 8. We're getting better." The media dubbed them the Freezer Brothers. But internally, the FBI was less amused. "This is not a duo," one profiler warned. "This is a culture, a belief system, and they may be expanding." Across 5 states, storage facilities were searched. In 4, they found evidence, restraints, deep freezes, bleach, recording equipment. In 1, outside Akron, they found something worse. A woman, alive. Her name was Nicole Renner, 29, missing since July. She'd been locked inside an industrial freezer for over 24 hours, but hadn't been turned on yet. They were prepping her, she said. Her captors? A man named Damien, and someone she called the Quiet One. She was drugged, kept blindfolded most of the time, but she remembered one thing clearly. They talked about me like I wasn't there, like I was a project. Damien said, "She's the last one before we cleanse the drive." Nicole described a barn, cameras, a countdown clock, and a third voice. The FBI feared the worst, not just copycats, but a hierarchy. We're looking at a cell, potentially 3 or more individuals who plan, abduct, record, and distribute. This is organized, structured, ritualistic, Using Nicole's fragmented memories, a sketch artist drew a third suspect. A man with pale blue eyes, glasses, and a long scar across his jawline. The same man seen in the background of the security camera at the gas station, where Kian was last spotted. He was buying duct tape, while someone stood at the pump behind him, staring directly into the lens and smiling. For months, the FBI chased what they believed was a deranged killer working alone. But the truth was far more terrifying. Tamara Guilford's death was not an isolated act. She was one of many victims abducted, recorded, and sealed in silence inside deep freezers across state lines. And Kian Harrell, a.k.a. Damien, was just the face they'd been allowed to see. Now, investigators had proof. There was a second man, then a third, and they had just found number 9. Her body frozen and curled inside a sealed freezer in a barn in upstate New York. Etched into the door was a message no one could ignore. Number 9. And a blank space beneath it. Just enough room for one more name. October 2nd, 2022, 6:47 p.m. The barn was cold, silent, and empty, aside from 3 freezers lined up against the far wall. 2 had already been cleaned. The third was sealed shut with an industrial-grade padlock. Inside, a young woman, mid-20s, blonde hair, no visible ID. Her lips were stitched shut. Her hands, folded across her chest, as a place where medical examiners determined she'd been dead for approximately 6 days. But the real shock came when they reviewed her dental records. She had been reported missing 3 years earlier in Vermont. Case status, closed. Presumed dead. Declared suicide. Her name was Haley Greer, and someone had staged her return. The team at Quantico started connecting cold case disappearances going back as far as 2015. Patterns emerged. Each woman vanished between September and November, always after 1 a.m., always in colder regions. One chilling realization: there were no spring or summer abductions. Why? Because they didn't need freezers in the winter. They had nature. Meanwhile, in Syracuse, New York, a woman named Angela Preston contacted the sheriff's department after finding disturbing items in her backyard shed. Plastic ties, red scarves, a coil of black wire, an open laptop, still powered, battery almost drained. Her new tenant? A man named James Harlan. She'd rented him the basement unit of her house 3 weeks earlier. Quiet, polite, said he was a writer. She hadn't seen him in days. The laptop was handed over to digital forensics. What they found made seasoned agents physically ill. There were no names, no timestamps, just folders. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. Inside Level 2, dozens of encrypted clips, each one carefully edited, each labeled only by emotion. Fear V1, Obedience V2, Breakdown V3, but the final file, Ascension V9, the 9-minute clip showed a woman bound, blindfolded, and breathing heavily. A mechanical voice repeated, "You are no longer alive. You are preserved. You belong to collection." She sobbed, screamed, and then abrupt silence. The screen went black. But for 3 full minutes, static played, and beneath the static, a quiet sound. Breathing. That's when the behavioral team dropped a bombshell. This wasn't just organized crime. This was ritualistic, possibly even ideological. They believed the perpetrators weren't acting for thrill or profit. They were creating an archive, an underground cult, possibly tech-based, dedicated to preserving purity. They believed freezing someone at the peak of their fear captured their soul at its purest emotional state. And their collection? It wasn't just for them. It was being curated for someone else. October 5th, Washington, D.C. An analyst reviewing the metadata of one of the Level 2 videos spotted an embedded string, user or 1CL. The same string appeared on a Reddit post from 2019 in a now-deleted forum titled /r/Flesh Preserved. That account, or 1CL, had made just one comment. 9 preserved. 1 remains. He chooses. A location tag linked to Fayetteville, North Carolina. That night, Agents raided an old farmhouse on the outskirts of Fayetteville. In the basement was a refrigeration chamber. Nothing inside except a lone folding chair, bolted to the floor, and above it, carved into the concrete wall, with what appeared to be fingernails. 10. The discovery of number 9 inside a remote New York barn was supposed to be the climax. Instead, it opened a darker door. Encrypted files, video folders labeled by emotion, a mechanical voice calling the victims preserved, and then a final clip uploaded to the dark web. A hooded man steps forward. A woman kneels behind him, and off camera, a child's voice asks, "Can I keep her, Daddy?" That single sentence shattered every assumption. This wasn't just torture. This was indoctrination. October 7th, 2022, Quantico Behavioral Analysis Unit. Voice analysts isolate the child's line. They confirm the voice belongs to a real child, male, approximately 8 to 10 years old. What chills the team isn't just the voice itself. It's the tone. Calm, curious, like a child asking to keep a puppy. A new theory begins to form, one that shakes even the most experienced agents. They're teaching this, Agent Lauren Bishop says. Passing it down. This isn't just a cult, it's a curriculum. The phrase, the collection, shows up repeatedly in the archive clips and metadata. And now analysts begin finding chilling fragments of what appears to be an internal doctrine, referenced in a hidden text file titled, Lesson_1, Stillness is Sacred. October 8th, Wilmington, North Carolina. A raid on a suspected safe house linked to, or 1CL, uncovers what appears to be an underground classroom. 4 child-sized desks, a whiteboard, instructional diagrams showing how to operate industrial freezers, a children's book with hand-drawn illustrations titled, My First Preservation. On the chalkboard, scrawled in red crayon, "Cole keeps the bad thoughts out."